You know, they say to never ask a man his salary, a woman her age, or an art major why she owns so many Wiis.
Okay, well, he looked lonely, and he hasn't had any friends since I got it for my birthday in, 2014. Wait, the last time my age went up by 10 was 10 years ago? Wait, am I retro now?
If you're watching this on the day it airs, August 25th, 2024, then it is my 20th birthday, and you're invited to come to my party. Just come to these coordinates, and then we'll be friends in real life. Man, the last 20 years of gaming has been wild. We've been through the 7th and 8th generations of consoles that were just jam-packed with absolute classic system sellers. The Last of Us, Halo 3, Super Mario Galaxies 1 and 2, and don't even get me started on the 8th gen. The Last of Us Remastered, whatever the Wii U had, I never owned an Xbox One, and the Switch for crying out loud. Now, I'm sure the 9th generation will completely alter how we view video games as an artistic medium entirely. I mean, so far we've gotten The Last of Us Part 1, whatever the Xbox Series something has, and the Switch for crying out loud. Okay, so maybe the gaming landscape has changed a little bit since the 2010s, but today I want to take you on a journey that'll make both of us feel really old by looking at these past 2 decades of gaming through my eyes. Now, if you've done some mental math, then you would know I was born on August 25th, 2004. And believe it or not, I did not spawn in with a Wiimote in hand. But I do like to think of the umbilical cord as kind of nature's Wiimote wrist strap.
I didn't even do anything.
So it's safe to say that throughout the first few years of my life, I wasn't really exposed to video games. I mean, I'm older than the iPhone, and I remember thinking that we were so cool for having a plasma TV. For fun though, let's see if there's any cool games that released on my birthday. They must have been busy that day. On the bright side, Terminator 3 Redemption came out on the 24th, and Mario Pinball Land on the 26th. Okay, well, not the most memorable games. However, I will say my birth month was bookended by 2 absolute giants in gaming history. I mean, Evo Moment 37 happened on the 1st of the month, and that is probably to this day the biggest thing to happen in FGC history. But who could forget about the Guy game releasing on the 30th of August? A game still remembered fondly for its, well, at least Rapala Pro Fishing helped finish this month strong, with 0 misconduct that we know of. Between the years of 2004 and 2010, we mainly saw the tail end of the 6th generation of consoles. These were your Dreamcasts, GameCubes, Xboxes, not PlayStation 2s, and then the rise of the 7th generation. As mentioned previously, this generation has only 3 entries, that being the Xbox 360 in 2005, followed by the PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Wii in 2006. Would I be crazy for saying this set of consoles is the most iconic of all time? Would I be crazy for saying this set of consoles is the most iconic of all time? Would I be crazy for saying this set of consoles is the most iconic of all time? I could see an argument against that statement for sure, but with these sales numbers, it's really hard to ignore how big of an impact these 3 had on video gaming as a whole. And on video games, some of the most iconic games of modern gaming released in this 6-year time span. Mass Effects 1 and 2, Metal Gears 2, 3, and 4, GTA San Andreas, Red Dead 1, Half-Life 2, RE4, God of Wars 2 and 3, and my personal favorites, all the Persona 3s and Persona 4. Not to mention the Nintendo lineup, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and of course, who could forget Mario Pinball Land? All the while, my baby ass was not grinding any of these games. Instead, I was watching Yo Gabba Gabba and learning my numbers. And honestly, tell me, which is more important here? Now, there's one heavy hitter I failed to mention while talking about the huge consoles of the generation, and that of course is the Nintendo DS line, which we'll get more into here in the next segment because that's when I started gaming. A lot of my memories of this time period are kind of blended together, but I'll try to create as cohesive of a timeline as possible. So for my birthday in 2011, I got a brand new midnight blue DSi XL with a copy of Wipeout for the DS. And believe it or not, I still have the box, manual, and the original stylus that came with the system. What can I say? This video has been roughly 20 years in the works after all. I still remember having my birthday in this pizza place, being surrounded by a bunch of people I probably haven't seen since then, and opening up that DS for the first time. It was really magical. It was also around this time, probably Christmas of the same year, that my grandparents gave me their Wii family edition. Like, come on. What if I wanted to run Melee on the playground, but I couldn't play GameCube games? Think of what that would do to my cred. Now, being a child and all, and unfortunately having child labor laws in place, buying new games for a 7 to 8 year old like me was not really a thing I could do. And being this young, I didn't really know what I liked yet, so that turned into me mainly getting those shovelware DS and Wii games that were so prevalent in this period. What was even harder than being a 7 to 8 year old that couldn't buy new games? Being a 7 to 8 year old and having taste. So I didn't really play either of these consoles until later 2012, when I finally started to get some heavy hitters. But until then, I have a lot of memories on my dad's old Mac. Minecraft, Roblox, and Flash games absolutely shaped who I am today. The second part will come back a little later, but for now, let's talk computer games. I had these neighbors growing up who I'd often spend every waking moment during summer vacation playing in our cul-de-sac with, going on all sorts of adventures in the woods behind my house and playing Pokémon cards even though we had no clue what proper team building was. They had this older brother, I'm talking 8th grade older brother, and he was into video games. So naturally, I thought he was the coolest person alive. One day he asked me if I wanted his login for Minecraft, as he said he wasn't really into it anymore, and I became the happiest child alive at that very moment. I don't know what update I was playing at the time, but it was one of the coolest experiences my child mind ever had. Minecraft was pretty much my introduction into computer games, and even over 10 years later, when I built my first PC, the first game I installed and played exclusively for like 3 months was Minecraft. That feeling of not knowing anything, of being unsure what the game is all about, not knowing what Y level is the best for diamonds or the crafting recipe for wooden fence, unfortunately can't really be re-experienced in that same way ever again. And so when my little sister started getting into Minecraft a year or two ago, it was so exciting getting to see someone else do all this stuff for the first time. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So Minecraft was my primary game at the time. However, since my dad owned a Mac and not a PC, there really weren't too many options. So naturally, I turned to Flash games. There's a lot that I remember so fondly, but I just have no clue what they were called and couldn't even begin to describe them on Google. One that I still love to this day is the Fireboy and Water Girl series. Even though I mainly played single player, this game was so good. I'm telling you, if they put this game on Steam with online co-op, it would be the first game to sell 1 trillion copies. A lot of the Papa's games I remember playing, there was like this one snowboarding game I thought was so fun, and a ton of just random 2D platformers shaped a lot of my core memories of Flash games at the time. I'm sad that at this time, I didn't really understand Bloons Tower Defense, because nowadays, BTD5 and BTD6 are some of my favorite games of all time. Moving on to 2012, this is when everything changed. Gone were the days of playing video games in my dad's office, because now I could take them anywhere. Okay, well, I guess I could already do that, but with the release of the iPhone 4S, my dad decided to get me one too. Because of some deal at Sam's Club or something like that. My phone could only connect to my house's Wi-Fi, and with only 16 gigs of internal storage, my choices now seem pretty limited, but at that time, the possibilities were absolutely endless. The 2 games I remember sinking the most time into on this tiny screen were, once again, Minecraft Pocket Edition Lite, along with the full version once my dad let me spend the $7, and funnily enough, GTA Vice City. If you're around my age, there's a high likelihood that you also have memories of Minecraft Pocket Edition Lite, and I don't really know how to explain it, but I think the footage on screen kinda gives you the gist. If anything, it's kind of a proof of concept, like proving that Minecraft can indeed run on a mouse spinning in a wheel. I also have many fond memories of early Minecraft Pocket Edition. I remember the Nether reactor and playing on the steps of my front porch with my neighborhood friends as we tried to make these projects that seemed just so huge at the time. Then we get to GTA Vice City. I don't really know why my dad let me buy this game because I was probably like 8 or 9, but whatever. I sunk so many hours in this game without completing a single mission. I would just drive around the seemingly endless map, and I felt like I was discovering a new area every single time I did. Even though looking at that map now, it all feels so small. It's that mix of exploration, fascination, and creativity that you kind of lack as you get older. And playing Vice City today just doesn't hit the same, but I still very fondly remember this part of the game. However, Christmas 2012 completely changed me as a person. I went from being a little loser boy to being a little loser girl 12 years later, and I fully blame Pokémon White 2 for this. Dude, this game is so peak, and I'm so glad this was my introduction to the franchise. I still have my original save, which is dated December 25th, 2012, and I am so glad that I still have this. Seeing all my original Pokemon with their very creative nicknames and movesets just fills me with a sense of nostalgia, matched only by Minecraft Pocket Edition, of course. I could talk at length about how much I love the DS-era Pokemon games, but that'll be a topic for another time. I'll just leave it at this. I didn't know that you could save for pretty much that whole day and had to restart my adventure like 4 times. but every single time, I still chose Tepig, and for a long time, Emboar was my favorite Pokemon. Nowadays, I'm more of an Oshawott type gal, but it pains me to see Tepig slander online when I have so many memories attached to this stupid little fire pig. It was also around this time that I got my first actual Wii game, and that was Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I'm not too nostalgic for this game, as the games I mentioned previously kinda overshadowed it at the time. Now, I do remember playing countless hours on my CRT with my Wiimote sideways, annoying my older sister by spamming Thunder Jolt on Pikachu over and over again. Oh, and Subspace Emissary is probably the greatest single-player experience in any platform fighter, but you already knew that. So going into 2013, I was now more in touch with gaming as a whole. I would watch Peanut Butter Gamer, Popular MMOs, and a bunch of other YouTubers on my old iPhone. And it was because of this that I knew Pokemon and X and Y were coming out, and I wanted nothing more than to play those games. Unfortunately, with my DSi, I wasn't able to play these games, and the 3DS was still pretty pricey at this time. Luckily, the 2DS launched this year alongside X and Y, being this generation's budget handheld. I did so many chores, skipped out on so many other gifts, just to try to get my hands on one of these, and come Christmas time, there were only 2 boxes for me under the tree. One with a blue 2DS, and the other with a copy of X. While now many people will go back and gripe on all the various flaws these games had, I would argue that while yes, they are slow, easy, and have way too many rivals, I think they are the perfect intro to the franchise for someone of my age at the time. I love these games so much, in fact, I don't even know how this happened, but I acquired another copy of X and a copy of Y. I really don't know how I got these, but another important note is that for the first time ever in my copy of Y, I chose to play as the girl. Surely this was just because I liked the cute outfits, right? This surely won't have impact later on. Anyways, the rest of this year was mainly filled with a rotation of Minecraft and Pokemon. Same old, nothing too crazy. 2014 was a big year for me because there were 2 major releases that I wanted to get my little hands on this year. Super Smash Bros. 4 and Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Why I wanted Smash 4 so bad? Well, it was Smash on the go. That was the coolest thing ever. I ended up getting it sometime after it launched and played it so much. Going back, I really have no clue how I managed to play on this doorstop. It wouldn't be until a few years later that I really got into it though, so that's all I'll say for now. Quick side note on the 2DS, anyone that says this console isn't the best designed handheld will have to fight me on that. The PSP doesn't work for me, the 3DS XL is like just alright, but the Cheese Wedge? Man, the Cheese Wedge is perfection. The big release for me was, of course, ORAS. And back before Pokemon games were $60 a pop, I remember pre-ordering the pair for $80 at my local GameStop. I still have this pre-order bonus poster in my room to this day. I poured almost 200 hours into my copy of Alpha Sapphire alone, and I've replayed Pokemon Omega Ruby probably over a dozen times. It was at the same GameStop that I picked up Pokemon Heart Gold a little later before that huge explosion in the prices. And if you can't tell by my username, I liked this game quite a bit too. Throughout 2015, I mainly stuck with my rotation of Pokemon games alongside with a rotation of Minecraft and Roblox. I still have my Roblox account from 2013, and to this day, I really wonder what I was trying to say with this bio. I was introduced to so many other game franchises through shitty Roblox spin-offs, and like any good child, I spent way too much time grinding random tycoon games all day. I think I also got my dad's old iPhone 6 Plus at some point during this year, letting me play Minecraft even more effectively everywhere I went. It was also around this time that I moved to a new state and was either in 4th or 5th grade. Some of my closest friends to this day I met through Playground Talk over our favorite Pokemon. Now, there was also this debate that I had with one friend in particular, and I know you're watching, about why Pokemon was not a Digimon clone, because it actually came out before Digimon ever did. And if you can't tell, I'm completely over it now. And I will be expecting an apology in the comments when you see this. You know who you are. Anyways, 2015 is when I really got into YouTube, and my first channel was actually created at the end of that year. Gaming YouTubers really got me into video editing, scripting, and Photoshop in general. Looking back at some of these amazing works, I had some learning to do, but it helped spark my passion, which we'll see more throughout this video. While this was only a 4-year period, I can say without a doubt, this laid the foundation of how I would interact with gaming and video making as a whole. It would then go on to not only influence my college major, but even potentially my job. Here's the final kid photo I will use of myself for the remainder of this section. Go ahead, just accept the fact that I had more drip than you ever will. I'll wait. Why am I stopping here? Well, because after 2016, I start middle school, and I would rather forget about how I looked there. But let's wrap up elementary school first. If you couldn't tell by the shirt, I was so into FNAF, and all the funny YouTubers I watched were playing it. It was also around this time that I started to get into anime, which also heavily influenced where I am today, but once again, another story for another time. Just know that I met my current girlfriend of 6 years because she was the only person on the playground that I could talk about FNAF YouTubers and anime to. Some would say I have autistic Riz. Anyways, we still have the same lineup. 2DS, Wii, iPhone, and Dad's computer, all in heavy rotation. Now with some Steam games like Gmod thrown in there. But then, my life changed forever. See, I learned of a little game known as Overwatch from an ad I saw on TV while watching cartoons with my dad one night. I still vividly remember sitting on the couch in our new townhome late at night and seeing the Overwatch cinematic trailer come on. I then proceeded to say, "Wow, that looks stupid," and carried on with my life. Until my curiosity got the best of me and I decided to look it up later and became instantly obsessed with everything Overwatch related. I think I quite literally consumed every YouTube video from this period involving that game. Mizel, Kazilbrad, Batagaza, you name it, and I was watching it. I would even look up Overwatch on Google Images and print out what I thought looked cool to put in my room. Basically, Overwatch would become my new Minecraft. There's just one issue this time. I have no way to actually play this game. Oh well, Pokemon Sun and Moon will hold me over for a while. Someone tell me why these are the best looking 3 Pokemon games to release thus far. I adored these games, and other than Oraz, this was the first time I had really been on the hype train for something, and it was so fun. Gen 7 catches a lot of flack, but honestly, I think the Ultra games are peak 3DS Pokemon. Just make sure to set your text speed to fast. 2017. God, I'm so happy I nuked my old Reddit account because sometimes I can still see the posts I made in r/dank memes in my fucking nightmares. Anyways, so as I mentioned, I had no way of playing Overwatch, but I needed it for my survival as a 12-year-old. Okay. Sorry. Overwatch is fucking 8 years old. I was 12 when I played this shit. Jesus. Wow. Anyways, in order to get a taste of Overwatch, I went over to my friend's house and asked to play it on his PS4, to which he agreed. It was at this moment that I fell in love with Lucio. To this day, he is the only reason I play Overwatch. Even though I was so awful at this time, I knew I wanted to be the best. So I made an agreement with my dad. For Christmas the year prior, I wouldn't get anything. Then on my birthday this year, I'd contribute as much money as I had saved up to buy a console and a copy of Overwatch, as long as he was able to cover the rest. He agreed, but that left one problem. What console was I gonna buy? See kids, at this time crossplay wasn't a thing, or at least as standard as it is now. And all my friends were pretty 50-50 on having Xbox Ones versus PS4s. My decision ended up being swayed when I went to my girlfriend's house for the first time and saw she owned a PS4. Yep, that's right. I blame her for my Overwatch addiction that would last for the next 8 years. I didn't know it at the time, but this was probably the most important decision I had and probably ever had made. All because the girl I liked had one, and of course the sticks were symmetrical. So in order to understand the massive domino effect this choice had, I first need to introduce you to our newest character in this tale, Dax, aka Wendy's Frosty.
Oh man, he's on to us.
I thought I didn't have footsteps, I thought he couldn't hear me. You ready, Dax? You ready, Dax?
Yeah. Go. Get him.
Second semester rolls around and it's 2018 now. We met in 7th grade English class and just happened to share a bond over a little game that had just released the year prior. Fortnite Battle Royale. Yeah, I'm a bit of a big deal. I've been playing Fortnite since the game released, and I'm no longer ashamed to say that it was incredibly fun at this time. Since Dax owned a PS4, we were able to run duos, and run duos we did. Between seasons 5 and 10 of Chapter 1, we ran well over 4,000 games together, and I am so unbelievably happy that I still have these VODs recorded as I'm able to reminisce over our amazing 13-year-old humor.
I hit those. That's what I thought, boy.
First semester, 8th grade. I go through my whole Reddit cringy trans arc, ask my crush out to the school mixer as my girlfriend, but most importantly, finally get Dax to buy Overwatch. At this point, I'm around Plat, and he plays as Goldish, but trust me, that will change. One thing I think is kind of funny is I haven't talked about pretty much any other games besides Overwatch and Fortnite, and truly, that is because those are all I played. I mean, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee dropped, but come on, those are more filler games. Smash Ultimate also came out this year, but I don't get into that as much as I will for a few more years. However, the Smash game I do really get into at this time is Smash 4. So at my middle school, every morning, every student had to go into the gym and sit in these risers for like 10 to 20 minutes. I don't really know why. So me and a few other friends got the bright idea of bringing our 3DSs and playing Smash locally while waiting. Not to like brag or anything, but my Mr. Bean Mii brawler had like roughly 100% mortality rate. 2019, once again, oh my god. So around this time, I was in my full swing, I'm gonna be an Overwatch content creator arc. I uploaded almost every other day thinking my iMovie skills were unmatched and my Photoshop unparalleled. So believe it or not, that did not work out for me. But it did give me a taste of what I love doing now. By the end of 8th grade, me and Dax have played thousands of hours of games together. I really don't think anything in my life will ever be more nostalgic than Fortnite Season 7 over winter break. You just had to be there. Waking up to see that you're snowed in, it being a little too chilly inside just to wear short sleeves so you throw on a hoodie, then hopping in a PS4 party until you realize it's 2 a.m. again. It's all just so magical. Some might say I wasted my free time in my youth, but I couldn't be happier with my choices. I truly had so much fun. Anyhow, when freshman year of high school rolls around, it's more of the same. Overwatch, Fortnite, be cringy online, repeat. I want to say around this time, me and Dax hit Masters or Grandmaster in Overwatch. Him on tank, me on support. Pokemon Sword and Shield came out in November of this year, and they surely were games. I mean, call me a sucker, but in retrospect, these games weren't as bad as people said they were. I just think the DLC should have been included in the base game. It was also around this time that I started following esports a lot more. I was already into the Overwatch League after its inaugural season. Sorry, you can't call me a shock bandwagoner, I've been a day one. But also the FGC and VGC as a whole. 2019 Ultimate is probably the greatest arc Ultimate will ever have. Just so beautiful, and my goat Tweak did so good this year. Minus the whole losing emote thing. We truly did not know how good we had it before the year of our Lord and Savior, 2020. Overall, these years set me up for where I am now. Kinda hard to believe that based on the amount of time dedicated to Overwatch and Fortnite, but I promise you, we are just scratching the surface. Guys, I think a little something happened during 2020, and I wanted to clear up any misinformation. I did not do it. So because of this little, let's say, mistake that I didn't make, I ended up having my freshman year of high school cut short. I remember vividly coming into my first period on the first day back from spring break, wiping down the tables and refilling hand sanitizer containers. Then we were all just told to go home and not come back. It's very surreal to think back on. But you know what this meant for a little 16-year-old unemployed me? More video game time, yay! In February of this year, I beat Persona 5 for the first time, and wow, it made me fall in love with the series. I know I'm not the first, and definitely not the last person to say that Persona 5 is easily one of their favorite games of all time, but back to the grind. Me and Dax hit top 500 in Overwatch for the first time around April of this year on support and tank respectively. And it feels crazy to think how much this meant to me at the time, and how I for sure put way too much self-worth into the funny 4 digits on screen. But you live and learn. When sophomore year rolls around, I am so hyped that it's online. That means I can play video games all day while still doing my work, of course. I'll have you know I maintained a 4.0 or above GPA throughout every year of high school. Yeah, so I'm like a big deal. After a week of online turned to a month to two to a semester, I started to get really depressed. I know it's a crazy 180 tone shift, but I've never really spoken about this before. Not being able to go anywhere or interact with any of my friends outside of text chats and PS4 parties really started to take a toll on me mentally. I found myself not wanting to hop on after class, not enjoying the times that I did hop on, and just staring at my game library trying to find some spark of passion that I felt I had lost. It didn't help that now, as a 17-year-old boy, puberty really started kicking in, and I felt like I was losing any sense of self that I had left in me. So stacking dysphoria on top of everything else I had going on mentally was not healthy, and I needed some escape. As dumb as it sounds to say aloud, anime ended up being my primary escape at this time, and it's also when I discovered Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, and I will never change my profile picture from Kamina because of this. After a while, I found that I was excited for some things again, and one of those things just happened to be the PlayStation 5. See, I saved up enough money for my birthday, as well as doing a bunch of odd jobs around my neighborhood, to buy a PS5, and you already know, I was refreshing that Walmart page on repeat trying to get my hands on one, and all they gave me was this stupid controller. I ended up not being able to get a PS5, and thank God for that. You can only play Astro's Playroom and Demon's Souls so many times before you realize that you may have made the wrong choice. Going into 2021, this is when Dax and I had a brilliant idea. why don't we just build our own PCs? I mean, we both saved up money to get a PS5, and now we just have like $700 lying around. I'm sure we can get something halfway decent with that. This was right before the massive price spike that happened, and me and Dax got pretty much the exact same builds. Except I managed to find an RTX 1650 Super at Micro Center and splurged on it immediately. I watched one Linus Tech Tips video, and I was ready to go. It's so funny because I had blown my whole budget on the PC itself and never even thought about the peripherals. I had this 60Hz monitor that my dad took from work, this mushy as hell Corsair keyboard Dax found, a G502 Hero I bought on sale, and of course my $20 PS4 Turtle Beaches. But autism be damned, this girl can build a PC. It was so surreal actually having my own setup for the first time. And while now it's so cringy, I mean, look at those fucking pop figures. It felt so good knowing that I came from this just a year prior. Now, if you remember, what was the first game I installed and religiously played for 3 months? If you said Webkins, you're wrong, it was Minecraft again. This world is so nostalgic for me, as I remember just listening to music and playing for hours. My dad, who was like so accustomed to hearing me shout callouts late into the night, would often just come into my room during this time and ask if I was doing okay, since I was so locked in and just being dead silent. Then I would proudly show him my newest builds, and he'd say something like, "Didn't you play this game on my Mac when you were little and you're still into it?" As sophomore year came and went, and the restrictions in my area were being lifted, I decided I wanted to get an actual job so I can upgrade my PC and have some financial freedom. So I got a job at a local grocery store and just spent the whole summer working. I slowly upgraded my setup, getting a 165Hz monitor, a good SteelSeries keyboard, a real headset, and it all just felt so rewarding. Of course, during this time, me and Dax were also grinding PC Overwatch, but it just wasn't the same anymore. I mean, he had a job down the street now too, and usually when we get off, we wouldn't want to run games anymore. But we of course still made times on the weekend to grind. When junior year finally began, I'll be honest, I don't really remember anything from this time. I mean, BDSP came out, I guess, and I was more into actually trying to get better at Smash. It was at this time that I got a really bad haircut, and because of that, I didn't let anyone touch my hair for roughly a year and a half. But this was a blessing in disguise, because now that my hair was gone, while yes, I felt like absolute shit, though I tried to play it off, I decided to embrace my femininity in a different way. I did my own nails for the first time, and they look like absolute shit, but I was so happy. Alright, this video is about video games. I found a PSP at a secondhand shop for like 20 bucks. It didn't work, so I bought a new battery, charger, and then put some custom firmware on it. I brought this to school and played so many Pokemon ROMs and some of the first 3 Persona games. I actually started a bit of a business. See, I would take people's 3DSs, mod them, then load them up with games. I made like 40 bucks a pop. I mean, do they not know how easy it is to mod them? Before I knew it, it was 2022, and we finally had our mask mandates lifted at school. Don't know if that was the best idea, but it helped my acne not flare up as much. Pokemon Legends Arceus dropped in January, and I don't know if this is a hot take, but it's literally the best Pokemon game on Switch. Like, not even close, right? I was literally walking in the halls, Switch out, grinding this game. I promise that was the only time I was cringe in high school, but I had a good reason. The game was just that good. Once that art came and went, I developed an addiction, and it's tough to talk on a platform like this, but it was Bloons Tower Defense 6. Holy shit. I adore this game, and I played it pretty much exclusively from like February to June or July. I loved and still do love this game so much. I literally brought a Dart Monkey plushie to junior year prom, and now he forever lives in the back of my car. It's just so polished. It has so much replayability, and before the most recent update as of recording this, I did have a black border on every beginner map and almost every intermediate map. Etienne is forever my goat. In April, Blizzard launched the first public PvP beta for Overwatch 2. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that whole Overwatch 2 arc happened. I stayed home from school one day to play and had a really fun time. It felt like that burnout was starting to go away from playing and creating so much content. Once again, the summer was filled with more grinding Overwatch again, but this time, Overwatch 2 with a mix of Minecraft on the occasion. Senior year begins, and it was so much fun. I didn't have to take any math classes, and the only AP course I took was English, even if that's not apparent here. I spent so much time just playing Smash with people in class, and the teachers couldn't complain because I had perfect scores in all of their classes. I went on a family road trip on Thanksgiving break to visit a relative in Sedona, Arizona, and we were taking an RV. It just so happened that the day before we left, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were released. I don't think I did anything else during this whole trip other than put around 40 hours into Violet and watch the original Trigun anime. Although Scarlet and Violet are quite divisive titles, I really enjoyed my time with this game. although it was due to my very specific set of conditions on this road trip. Side note, I feel like a broken record just saying the same like 4 games over and over again, but you have to understand, when I lock in on something I like, it will remain something I like forever. Anyways, back at school, I was experimenting with my style, going through my pseudo baby trans phase, and finally feeling good again. I honestly really didn't need video games to feel happy anymore. I had my own car that me and my dad built up, and I was hanging out with my friends a lot more. However, I still had this looming sense of danger though, like something would go wrong at some point. But I'm sure it's nothing. When the second semester started up, I began a bit among my friends. What if I ran for prom king? For context, and I feel like this is pretty apparent, I wasn't a particularly traditionally popular kid. I didn't play sports, go to huge parties, or have a massive friend group. I just made silly videos, was funny in class sometimes, and happened to know a lot of people. My plan was foolproof. Photoshop a funny photo of myself, distribute the posters among students, and let them do whatever they wanted with them. Now, believe it or not, I mainly played more Overwatch during the beginning of the year. I know, shocker. With the amount of free time I had from class now, I mainly use it to work, and aside from a couple weekends, Dax and I just kind of stopped playing games together. He was working more, taking more AP courses, and had his own life stuff. And personally, I would rather be working or spending time with my girlfriend than grinding ranked. Once prom season started up, I began my ultimate plan. And it fucking worked. No, not like, oh yeah, it worked. It fucking worked, and I was crushing in the polls. Posters of my face were ending up everywhere from the backs of some kids to the urinals on the first floor. I also sold merch in my face too and had a few kids pick up some drip. When prom night eventually came, I went up on that stage, and I was fucking terrified. I've never been really good with large crowds, and my legs were shaking like crazy. But I won. The 5'7", video making, rank grinding, ambiguously queer, funny gal won prom king. This photo I am fine with showing. I earned this photo. Afterwards, I drove my girlfriend and I out to a restaurant to meet up with friends, then I dropped her off at home. My social battery was so far gone that I didn't go to anything after. I just went straight home. And the first thing I did after changing was booting up Minecraft and played for like 4 or 5 hours straight until the morning. While everyone else was out partying and showing up to class hungover the next morning, I had been in my room alone playing video games. That was your prom king. The rest of the year felt kind of like a high school movie from the late 90s. Everyone knew my face, I got to meet a ton of new people, and I had this sort of immunity to some rules now and could easily get away with just playing Smash in class and taking hour-long lunch breaks. It was really sick. Graduating was very surreal. I drove me and my girlfriend home that night, and it all felt so weird. I had been accepted into the only college I applied to and was going to start working a lot more over the summer. All the while, video games just didn't have the same appeal life did at the moment. Dax and I met up at some point and decided that we were going to live together in the dorms next year, and that was pretty much the last time we spoke that whole summer. Work, see friends, sleep, repeat. As much fun as I had at the time, I really can't remember much, except for the one fateful day. The day where my looming sense of danger finally caught up with me. It was a Monday. I had the day off work and I was just killing time watching some video essay I don't remember while playing Smash Ultimate on my second monitor. It was on Hollow Bastion. I was playing Little Mac with the pink alt against the level 9 Marth CPU when I got a knock on my bedroom door. It was at this time that I was forcefully outed. It was messy and uncomfortable and scary, and there was a lot of crying, and even though I've been to therapy plenty of times afterwards, I still remember it all so clearly. I don't want to live here anymore, I thought. I don't want to live anymore, I thought. And I haven't used the pink Little Mac alt since. I grit my teeth and moved on the best I could. I started college the first or second week of August, and living with Dax on our own was so fun. I felt like this weight coming off my shoulders after he said he didn't care I was trans, and we stayed up the first few nights gaming and grabbing 1 a.m. Taco Bell.
Oh, see, it's too... It needs momentum. It needs like, so you gotta like, oh, okay. It just can't.
When one fateful day, I saw a poster about joining the KU esports program. So naturally, me and Dax thought it would be a really funny bit to sign up and try to get into tryouts. And we did. Not only did we make it to tryouts, we got onto the varsity roster, and we thought it was so fucking funny. Because of this, we grinded so much Overwatch. Literally, when we weren't in class, we were on the grind. It felt like middle school all over again, but now I could walk into his room and microwave a Pop-Tart during queues. Being in a team setting was so fun. I love all the guys. They're all so funny. Wasp Nation, rise up. We took home a silver medal at our first event, which I am really proud of, and formed some amazing memories. Something was still off though, and it's not like I didn't know what it was. I've known, trust me. So I submitted a request to speak with a doctor about starting hormone replacement therapy. Luckily, it was not a long wait, but that 2-week period did not feel real. I don't know if there's ever been another time in my life that felt like that 2-week period. I felt like I applied directional blur to my life. I got all checked out and was ready to go. However, there were a few complications, one being that I needed insurance, and I had mine through my dad, who didn't know anything at this point. It took a few more weeks to build up the courage to talk to him, but once I did, everything went really well, and he was more than happy to let me use insurance for this and said he loved me no matter what. But due to some scheduling conflicts, I wouldn't be able to start until a little later. At least now I knew I was on the right path for what felt like the first time in my entire life. It was during this kind of waiting period that I decided to play Persona 4 Golden for the first time. And wow, banger. I know it's pretty controversial, but I really did enjoy my time with Golden. After that, I decided to play Persona 3 Portable now that it was on Steam. And wow, I really enjoyed my time with Portable. So much so that I replayed it and got 100%. So much so that I will say far and away, after playing Golden, every version of 3, P5 Vanilla and Royal, the spin-offs, a little bit of Q2 and Arena Ultimax with some Innocent Sin sprinkled in, P3P is my favorite Persona game of all time, bar none. Maybe that'll be another story for another time, but now I'll leave it at that. It was also during this period that I beat Celeste. A little late for that one though, but it was so incredible. I feel really weirdly nostalgic thinking about standing at the bus stop in my Bridget coat and slacks this time, listening to Internet Child by Manwolves, eating a granola bar before heading to class. It was really the first time I felt like my mind actually had some peace. After an okay winter break at home, I was finally able to start hormones. January 19th, 2024, a date that I'll remember for the rest of my life. It was a really cold Friday afternoon, and after I got out of class, I rushed straight to get to my car to get to CVS as quickly as possible. I hopped in my car, listening to an episode of The Yard, and I got there as fast as I was legally allowed to. Getting back to the dorm, I was so pumped. I took my first dosage and immediately hopped on Melee. Turns out estrogen doesn't make you better off the bat. You still have to do all this like practicing shit. I don't know, not what I signed up for. I was now actually getting to make shit in class. Oh yeah, I'm a film production major. And it completely relit the fire in me for making videos. In terms of video games, which, oh right, this video is about video games. The biggest thing that happened in the first few months is when I attended Sweet Spot 8. I go over this more in depth in my highly acclaimed video right here, but man, attending a Smash event was so much fun. I felt like I could really be myself and talk frame data with nerds like me and grew closer to a lot of really cool people. Once the collegiate Overwatch season concluded, and after going to 2 more LANs, I kinda had my fill of Overwatch. I've done everything I wanted to do. I'm not a particularly competitive person by any means, which isn't the greatest trait to have when playing a competitive video game competitively, but I learned a lot about not weighing your self-worth on the line with every match. And now whenever I play, I can kind of just do it without thinking about ELO anymore. As my classes were wrapping up and I was saying all my see you laters to the friends I had made, sitting in my now empty dorm, I just needed to kill some time. So I pull out my Switch and decide to play against some CPUs. Only this time, there was no knock at the door. It was just me here. I decided to go live with my dad for the first time in my life. It's currently 2:16 a.m. I have work at 9, but I'm willing to deal with my actions later. If I had picked the Xbox One over the PS4, I wonder where my life would be right now. I know, it sounds so stupid, such a minor, nothing choice, but really think about it. I truly wonder what my life would look like. I wouldn't have met Dax, I wouldn't have been able to play games with my girlfriend, I wouldn't have built a PC, which, you know, I used for these videos, and my love for this might have fizzled out while mindlessly grinding ranked and hating myself even more. If I could go back and redo anything, I wouldn't change a thing, and fear that I wouldn't be me as I know me right now. Summarizing 20 years of a human life into a silly little video revolving around video games, trauma, and triumph isn't the easiest or most comfortable thing to do, but it's a cathartic process, and I hope to show others that it gets better. While I still love video games, I just don't find myself wanting to play them as much. I would much rather be working on my next video, as being able to do YouTube full-time was always my childhood dream. I just didn't think it would be like this. Well, you know, if I could change one thing, it probably would have been the little Mac alt I was using that Monday morning, because the pink one's the best one after all. Thank you for watching.